everyone, it's Frankie-Lou. I'm coming to you today from the kitchen of the Grow Together homestead, where I thought I would do a little rundown on how I deal with microgreens. I've had a few people ask me lately how I do microgreens, and so I thought, what the heck, I might as well share that with you guys, because if you've watched some of my other gardening videos, I'm all about ways to get the most production with the least amount of work. So first off, most folks, when they go to grow microgreens, will grow them in planting trays. I don't want that much microgreens at a time because one of the reasons I'm growing microgreens is I want to get the most nutrition and the most flavor out of these seeds. When you do sprout something, you release a lot more of its soluble and insoluble fibers and a whole bunch of other nutrition. And if you don't eat it very quickly, the nutritional value goes down with every day that you're not eating it, even if you're storing it well. And honestly, I don't want to mess with storing microgreens for very long because they can be quite susceptible to various things that we don't want to be getting in our system. I like to eat mine the day that I harvest it. That's the whole point for me with microgreens. So I grow in smaller quantities. I also don't want to spend money on 3 different kinds of trays that are gonna, that's costly, and I want it as simple as possible. So what I use, and I know you guys know I'm a big fan of upcycling, and here's another example of it. I use these good old clamshell containers, okay? They have the drainage holes, all right? So I don't have to get a special tray with drainage holes. And I find that this produces a nice meal-sized harvest, okay? And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a meal size. I'll have a few of these going at a time, staggered, instead of having an enormous harvest from a gardening tray. I'm gonna show you another way to be frugal with your microgreens. First, your equipment. You don't have to go out and buy a whole lot of fancy equipment. All right. Now, also, when it comes to seeds, you can go out and spend a fortune on microgreen seeds. But one thing that I grow actually the most, because I love the flavor of it, and also it's extremely nutritious and extremely inexpensive to purchase. If I'm not thinking about going to a garden store or going to a health food store and buying seeds, I really like growing green whole lentils. I always have these in my house anyways because I like to eat dal and a lot of Indian food. And those, especially if you're buying nice organic ones, you can get a 1 kilo bag for a few bucks, okay? And they're quite tasty. And they're also one of the easiest ones to grow. And they're one of the most nutritious ones to grow. So for me, it's a win-win-win. Another one that I like to do, because I grow a lot of peas in the garden and I can't always harvest them all the time, and I do a lot of seed savings, is I like whole peas. I really like legumes for microgreens because I find I get a decent sized plant and a lot of plant material quicker than with something. So these are whole peas that I harvested from my own garden. But if you go often you can get these in bulk department, and often they'll have it in organic food stores. They'll have these bulk peas and soups. They're seeds, people. You can sprout them, okay? You don't have to go out and buy a bag that says sprouting seeds. If it's a whole lentil or a whole pea that's raw and dried, it can probably be sprouted, okay? I get really great germination rates out of it. You want to make sure that you have the right amount of seeds that you're going to put in here to grow, right? You don't want to have them overlapping too much. You want to have a nice even layer of seeds that you're going to use. So what I do is I get my container, pour in my seeds till I have a nice single layer on the bottom, okay? I'm not measuring anything, I'm just looking at it. All right, now another thing you want to do is you want to soak these, okay? I usually soak overnight, but I don't soak for more than 24 hours because you can waterlog and kill a seed, okay? So anywhere from that 12 to 24 hours is probably a really good soaking period. Okay, so now what you want to do is you want to put just a very thin, like approximately 1 inch of soil in the bottom of your microgreen tray, okay? Then you want to place your seeds in your pre-soaked. We're going to pretend these are pre-soaked here. Just in a layer. As I said, you don't want to overlap too much, okay? You want it to be a nice, even layer on top of that soil. Then you want to add just enough soil to just cover those seeds. Okay, so there's my seeds there. I'm just gonna, don't want to overdo it. You don't need a lot of medium. This is really more for something to, just to give a little bit of extra hold for those seeds so they don't topple over while they're growing. Okay, there you go. It doesn't have to be perfect though. They're gonna grow, all right? So one of the things I love about the legumes, the lentils and the peas, they really, and beans too, is they do really tend to be a good starter microgreen to grow because they are quite simple and they're cheap. You're going to ensure that this is moist enough, okay? You can, I've used a pre-moistened soil here so that I don't have to do this much, but I'm going to keep this mister around, and I'm going to make sure that these seeds are staying nice and moist every day. And whenever I feel that that soil is drying out as they're going, I'm also going to bottom water, okay? So I will place the trays in one of these and water from the bottom as they're growing as well. I find that I just have to check every day to see how it's going. It's not as much, I wouldn't say it's as labor intensive as sprouts, which have to be rinsed at least 2 times a day. With microgreens, just check it every day. If you notice that the soil is getting dry, make sure you bottom water it for a couple minutes or mist it on the top. Now, you could put this in the dark if you want to. You could wait it if you want to, but that's more work than I want to be doing, okay? I just want to check them every day to see if they are watery. I put this in my windowsill, and a lot of people are going, oh no, you're not going to get germination. Well, yes, you'll get enough germination. This is a batch of lentils that I started 2 weeks ago to the day, and you can see I got some pretty darn good germination. Another thing people like to do is they like to wait it so that they're going to get, and they like to put the darkness on so that they get tender shoots. Well, these are pretty darn tender because they're still young enough. I'm going to harvest these tonight. Here's some peas that I started the same day, okay? I'm going to cut these both down today. That's going to be plenty for me to make a nice green salad that I'm going to have with my smoked stew tonight, okay? So, and that's what I want, something that I'm going to eat in one day. Now, don't throw this away once you harvest. I like to harvest with scissors. Now, when I cut this, I'm not going to cut right down to the soil. A, it's going to be a lot easier to clean if I don't, right? I don't want any of the soil in here. And B, if I don't cut it all the way down, I could get some second harvests from some of these legumes, okay? Like, I actually did cut here earlier in the week to see, and some of these are regrowing, okay? They're not gonna regrow as much as that. They're not gonna get a second harvest that's gonna be as intense as that first harvest, but I still will be able to do second harvests on these, on a lot of different microgreens. Peas are really good for that too. And so I'm gonna put these back in the windowsill and come back and harvest. In about another week, I should have some more growth again. Also, any of the seeds that didn't sprout as well that first time are now getting a second, because you know how it is. Sometimes not all your seeds sprout right away. Those ones will have a chance to grow up and I can harvest those. And then after that, then it'll go to my chickens and they'll love it. So I'm gonna make sure that I rinse these really well with clean water. I'll let them drain in a paper towel. I am gonna eat these all today, but if I did want them to last another couple days, I would keep them on a paper towel in a container in the fridge so that, but I would honestly eat these within a day or two. It's really not a good idea to let any of these young greens, they're not going to taste as good, and they're going to be nowhere near as nutritious as if you eat them the first day. All right, so I'm going to also harvest some of these peas. If you leave them too long, they'll get too woody, obviously. So that I find that 2 weeks is a really good harvest time for these legumes. But play with it. Some people like it taller, some people like it more developed. I like them when they're just sort of starting to get those little tenderly twirly things on them. Then I find they're the tastiest. And as I said, I grow mine in full light. I don't weight them down at all to make the roots stronger. They're plenty strong enough. I'm finding I'm getting good enough germination rates. All right, so I hope that was helpful. Even if you aren't sure about doing microgreens and you want to do it the traditional way with the weighted trays and in the dark, why not give this a try first to make sure that you like them before you invest all of that money, right, in all this equipment, when really you can still grow microgreens just in a clamshell. All right, please don't hesitate to ask any questions that you might have. Don't forget to give me suggestions, because that's where this video came from. People said they wanted to see how I do microgreens. I guess people know I like shortcuts. We'll be doing more videos soon on some of our crafting, because it's that time of the year where we start thinking about presents for the holiday season. And as always, I hope you take this chance to grow together today. Have a good one.